Well, I'll give you an exclusive here. The new price guide, which comes out in January 1 of 2022, will be, I believe, the most increases in value of any book
Year over year.
year over year.
Like, what kind of percentage?
Even book over book, it's huge.
What happened to the classic car world in 2021?
It's really interesting because I was in my office because I have a small office and there's normally three people there, but one of them got COVID and was sick and out for 6 months, and so I was there by myself mostly. But the first thing I noticed that was really interesting, I saw the most amazing thing. All these collector cars were out on the road. When you watch an intersection, let's say on a Saturday, which is when you see most collector cars, I guess. In where I am in Northern Virginia, this is not Southern California or South Florida where you see collector vehicles or expensive exotics all the time. But we have more expensive exotics. I was seeing 56 Ford pickup trucks. I was seeing Chevys. I was seeing Dodges. I was seeing.
Was this just in the summer, or was this actually in the winter too?
No. This was in starting in April. I was seeing when the pandemic took off, I was seeing all these collector cars out there, and I thought, well, a vehicle is a perfect social distancing vehicle. And so you'd see, one or possibly two people in these cars, and they'd be out driving MGs everywhere, all this sort of stuff. And so I kind of said, hey, it's not going to be all that bad for collector cars because people are using them probably more. Some of that's borne out by Hagerty statistics because they didn't have an increase in accidents per se, but they had a lot more garage damage. People working on their cars, and the guy who, using a blowtorch and it gets out of hand or whatever. The handyman
That
stuff.
really happens.
Oh yeah, really does. So you can track some of the claims. Not that I am involved in that, but I heard the stories. I think there's those things that happen where people say, well, wait a minute, life is short. If I'm going to survive this, I want to do it in a collector car. That's one thing. Another thing is that there is value in collectibles. And, in sometimes bad economic times, collectibles, not necessarily collector cars, but all kinds of collectibles go up in value. That was part of what actually drove it. But I think the big driver was mostly guys, but guys at home being bored to tears.
So I got some feedback on this because
Yeah.
I have my own thoughts, at least what happened in 2021. Now, here in California, you can see we got classic cars around us, and we had been doing a classic car drive every weekend, a bunch of guys here at the airport. But that's kind of the norm for California.
Mm-hmm.
And I was seeing more and more people do that, but I just thought it was California because people had time in their hands. But now I'm hearing things like this about Great Falls, Virginia, which I wouldn't expect that to be the case. And then I think back to my New York roots. There was another event that wasn't necessarily positive on the world stage. That was literally 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it devastated the city I am from, New York. And what I didn't see coming, I thought everybody thought the world came to an end, at least living in New York at that point. But you know what people did? The people who did survive, they were like, you know what? I'm not going to put off that motorcycle purchase.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put off that beach house purchase. I'm not going to put off that Mercedes Gullwing purchase.
Yeah.
And after 9/11, people said, carpe diem, I'm doing it.
Yeah. Life is short.
And I saw the same thing happen, actually quicker turnaround in this than I did back from 9/11.
The interior of the United States probably not as much, but both coasts, it originally hit hard. There's so many times in your life, it might be when a parent dies or something like that, when you realize that you're not mortal. And I think that this is another reminder of of mortality. You have that extra, making a number up, 50,000, 100,000, 2 billion, depends on who you are. And you've always wanted an X, and that's going to scratch that itch. And you might not have it forever. You might not even have a long time. But, if you get 10 people interested in classic cars, probably 6 of them will stick with them in one way or another.
What did all of this do? Like, give me 3 examples of impacts on the classic car world.
Well, for one thing, I really think it was people bored at home was the most dramatic thing, because the rise of Bring a Trailer and some of the other online auctions is just phenomenal. I like to say that Remember when we always used to say, yeah, well, that's a Barrett-Jackson price. Now we say, well, yeah, but that's a bring a trailer price. I mean, not that, Barrett-Jackson still doesn't have, fantastic prices on cars and all that sort of stuff, and they do a great job doing what they do. The bring a trailer effect is just absolutely amazing.
How so? How is it amazing?
Number one, they have some of the the top sales of a very large number of cars. A lot of them German cars, Porsche, BMW, Mercedes-Benz. It has become a platform where an entire community, and like it or not, and sometimes it gets really irritating. If I had $1 for everybody who didn't start their auction on a 911 and somebody comes in and bets $911, oh man, how original. Anyhow, there's that sort of stuff, and there's people who are totally unqualified making comments about a car that they're never going to buy, which is really irritating.
They think they know everything.
All right, of course.
Yeah, I would know nothing about that.
Yeah, well, but that's social media in general. I mean, everybody, we're all keyboard warriors because we can say whatever we want, and there's no repercussions. I mean, you say that in public, and somebody's going to punch you in the nose. But I mean, it's a phenomenon, and it took off, and it did very, very well. And I think that also reminded people that that E9, the BMW that they didn't think much of, that was sitting in the garage, all of a sudden it becomes something that they treasure a little bit more.
Do you think it's just car guys and gals that it brought out into actually buying cars, or do you think it created new car guys and gals?
Oh, I think it definitely created new car guys
How
and
so?
gals. Well, I think a lot of people, they aren't cognizant of what other people like and what other people like about cars, and so this is a pretty easy way you can ask questions and get a response from somebody. I mean, not so much the 1, 2, 3. Why do you like this car? Why are you selling it? Not that sort of thing. But you read through there, and then there'll be a story about somebody who had one when they were a kid, or somebody who said, "I've always wanted one, and now I can't afford it, but I want you to know that this is the one I want because it's this color and it has this options." That sort of stuff. And so that's the kind of community that builds a little bit more community out of it.
And what exactly happened in the market itself? Put aside bring a trailer. Did it go up? Did it go down? Were there certain segments that were high and other segments that were low?
Well, I'll give you an exclusive here. The new price guide, which comes out in January 1 of 2022, will be, I believe, the most increases in value of any book.
Year over year?
Year over year.
Like, what kind of percentage?
Even book over book, it's huge. There's some cars that are totally static. They haven't moved at all. But we've seen so much movement in so many cars. I will give you a big one. It's the Lamborghini Miura. I mean, there are no Miuras out there that are less than $1 million.
What were they like 3 years ago?
650 on up.
Quite a jump.
Yeah.
And what cars are static?
Oh, a lot of the 50s and 60s American cars, remain static, although there has been an increase in convertibles almost across the board.
Give us an idea, like a 57 Chevy Bel Air convertible. What was it 10 years ago?
Top was 125.
What is it now?
125.
Oh, so it hasn't moved?
It really hadn't moved, no.
Oh, I thought they were going backwards.
No, I mean, well, okay. So we report on cars in 4 different conditions. Our number 1 car is the best car in the world. We like to say it's on the lawn at Pebble Beach, or name your favorite concours, with not a grass stain on the tires, no leaves of grass anywhere, just perfect. It's angels on a pinhead. There are very few number 1 cars, and so that's the best in the world. Our number 2 car is still a fantastic car, and what most people would say was a perfect car. Our number 3 is a very, very, very good driver quality car. So, something you'd look at and you'd say, it's ready to go. I could hop in this car and do a 1,000-mile trip. The biggest growth has been in the number 1 cars and the number 2 cars. Now, the interesting thing that happened in 2021 is there's infill. The number 3 cars have gone up, and the number 4 cars have gone up in a lot of different categories. So even though they're not the most desirable from the collectability standpoint, this is a rising tide that floats all boats in a lot of ways. So that Lamborghini Miura that would have been maybe a $550,000 car is now a $950,000 or $1 million.
Does that mean we should all go out and buy Daytonas?
Daytonas have gone up quite a bit.
Because they were many years ago, they were, what, $1 million? They've now dropped to 500-600 grand.
Yeah, but they're back up again. There was a time when I was offered a Daytona driving car for 125, and it wasn't that far ago. I mean, not that long ago. It was probably early 2000s, something like that.
Wow.
And Daytonas. I mean, here's the weird thing: Daytonas and Dinos are, not at parity, but they're close enough. I mean,
That I never understood.
Well,
beautiful car, beautiful design,
yeah.
but between the two, I've driven both. The Daytona is the one to drive.
I would agree.
So you guys have a very unique way of putting indices together. Like you got the red one.
Well, we have a Ferrari index. We have a German car. It's called the Silver Arrow Index, and we have a market basket of affordable collector cars and stuff like that. But you can do that yourself on our website. You can build your own index if you want.
But out of your indexes you've got, which ones are growing the most?
Blue chip.
So like this.
Yeah, exactly. This is our equivalent of a gold brick. It's worth the same everywhere on the planet. I mean, I like to say if penguins could buy cars, they would be worth the same in Antarctica.
And what wouldn't be? Will be the opposite thing that's actually not growing so quickly in an index.
Yeah, probably your American cars.
Muscle cars or what?
Muscle cars are doing well. There's movement in every single segment, so I can't just say blanket these cars are dead. There's no such thing as a dead segment.
So it's
right
not
now.
like the real estate market where everything is going crazy. Certain areas are great, certain areas not so much.
Yeah, but that's always the way it is. I mean, think about it. Okay, cars are, 2-door, 4-door, 4-passenger, 2-passenger, front engine, rear engine, all that sort of stuff. A lot like houses are, 2-bed, 2-bath, all that sort of stuff. But then, things change immediately from there because there's not just a 2-door, there's not just a colonial, there's not just a mid-century. There's all these different types of cars.
I get that, but what specifically is unique that happened in 2021?
For me, it's the infill. It's the the number threes coming up in value that were dead for a very long period of time. This is not a generation of buyers who wants to do any work to their car. They want point and shoot. They want, I'll take that one, and they want that one to be perfect.
Do you think it's because we've gone through experiences like 9/11 and 2008 and now this virus?
No, it's because we can't fix things anymore.
I love the honesty of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so on that note, we're going to stop this conversation here because you and I are going to have other conversations that might get into these areas in a bit more detail. So this is where we turn the episode around to you guys to weigh in the comments below to see if we are right, wrong, or perhaps we're missing an angle that we're not seeing at all. Let us know in the comments below or via our social media, MotoMan TV, all one word, MotoMan TV, all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And speaking of social, how can they find you?
The best way to do it is to go to Hagerty.com/valuation tools.
Or you can follow him on Twitter, DH Kinney.
Yeah.
DH Kinney, Kinney.
Right. Not real active on Twitter right now. You can always find me on
But
Facebook.
he's there. If you want to torment him for buying one too many Avantis, I give you my permission to do that. He will also talk to you about some British cars too. And of course, this is where we'd like to ask your help with the algorithm. What does that mean? Subscribe, notifications, but most importantly, click like and share these episodes with all your friends on your socials. Until Dave and I see you in the next episode. Bis später.